So if you're moving to St. Louis and you're considering different areas to live, two big counties you might be thinking about are St. Louis County and St. Charles County. They're right next to each other, both huge areas with a lot to pick from, but in this video, we're going to dive into how they compare to each other and what you should know before you really hone in on the area you want to live in St. Louis. Hey, welcome back to the Living St. Louis channel. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Madison. So everybody in St. Louis, if you're from here or you visited, they always talk about crossing the river. And some people like to stay on their side of the river. A lot of people do cross it. As realtors, we're always crossing each side of the river. So we're going to talk about the differences between St. Louis County and St. Charles County and really why some people live in one county versus the other, or what the draws of each county are.
Yeah. So St. Louis County, this is the bigger, older, kind of better known county in St. Louis. St. Louis County is huge. You got just under 1 million people who live there. It has a lot of really different pockets. It has some very old and established areas, some very new and high growth areas. But St. Louis County has been around a while. Everyone knows it, and it has a lot of choices within it. So on the flip side, you have St. Charles County, which is overall a lot newer of an area, very high growth. I mean, really in the last 2 decades, like it's gone from a lot of agricultural farmland and empty fields to all of these new developments and new neighborhoods. So there is a lot more in St. Charles County that's much newer built than St. Louis County, and a lot more happening right now. Granted, both counties have, their pockets of historic areas. St. Charles County has that. St. Louis County has that.
St. Louis has drawn so many people to our area that the city has been forced to grow and expand. And so we've really been pushing that western boundary into St. Charles County and also the southern boundary. But I would say within the last decade or two, it used to be hay fields out in St. Charles County, and now we're pushing even beyond that. I mean, Wentzville is one of the farthermost western cities in St. Charles County, and it was the fastest growing city in the state of Missouri, and we're pushing beyond that now. So I think it's exciting to see the growth of St. Louis is pushing into other counties.
It's got a lot more people moving there, both from St. Louis City moving out west and people in St. Louis County moving further west from where they already are.
Right. I think the biggest thing with St. Charles County is that it's suburban. It really is. It's very drivable. There's not anywhere near as much traffic as what there is in St. Louis, in the county of St. Louis.
So it definitely can be an overwhelming decision if you're thinking about which area you want to live in and what's right for you. If you are moving to the St. Louis area and you want help with that, send us an email or a text. We are a group of realtors. Helping people relocate here is our job. If you want help buying a house, building a house, whatever you're doing, get in touch. We are definitely very familiar with both parts of town and kind of describing how they are different from each other because we do this pretty much every day. So the first thing you might want to think about is proximity to the city. So St. Louis City, kind of the urban hub, you have all of the attractions going on there. You have stuff to do. A lot of people that work in the city. You have some big companies headquartered there. St. Louis County is directly next to St. Louis City. So depending on where you live, you might be way closer if you were commuting somewhere downtown, whether it's for work or you just want to have a night out or go out on the weekend. St. Charles County is kind of one step further out compared to St. Louis County, so you might have a longer commute going into the city, whether it's for work or catching a ball game at Busch Stadium. The driving time can definitely add up in both counties depending on how far west you are, but St. Louis County has a lot to pick from that is very close to St. Louis City.
So St. Louis has a lot to offer. When people want to move to St. Louis, there's a lot of main attractions they think about. A lot of people talk about, the St. Louis Zoo, which is free. There's a ton of kid activities from the Science Museum. You have the Botanical Gardens. You have so many sporting events from the Cardinals to the city soccer team to the Blues hockey. And so really on evenings and weekends, people like to do St. Louis things. They like to go into a game. They like to come in and have dinner, take their kids or their family to the art museum or one of those attractions. So St. Louis County is a great place to live because you're so close to so many things. I mean, we have people that drive hours away from surrounding cities just to get to these attractions. So living in St. Louis County is wonderful because you could be to some of these in under 10, 15 minutes.
And so with St. Louis County, it kind of goes around the city where you have North County, you have Mid County and West County, and then you have South County. So in St. Louis County, there's a lot more places you can choose that are still very close to the city. Whereas with St. Charles County, everything is just a step further west where you're probably looking at least 3 minutes to get into the city. maybe even more like 45 minutes to an hour if you really are farther out there like Wentzville or Forestell.
Right.
It's going to be a longer commute. And if that's important to you, that can be a big factor to consider, just because affordability might be better in St. Charles County, but then it's, time driving in the car is going to be higher if you're going to the city a lot, and gas and mileage and all that kind of stuff, and just how long you want to spend commuting if going to the city is a top priority for you.
Right. And I think that's the draw of St. Charles County, at least one of them, is the affordability. People want to have that affordable housing option, but still be able to take advantage of all St. Louis has to offer. I think that's a great area to consider if you are looking for maybe a bigger house, a newer house, and you're having a hard time finding that in your price point in St. Louis County. Typically, St. Charles County will open up more options to where you're a little bit farther from everything, but not too far. But I mean, there is still a lot going on in St. Charles County. St. Charles County does still have its own pockets of walkable areas and more historic areas like Main Street in St. Charles. So you can still find pockets of, areas that would be comparable to St. Louis.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, St. Charles County as a whole tends to be more of this very suburban, almost kind of urban sprawl area with a few pockets, like you said, historic areas, Main Street, St. Charles, like historic Wentzville, Old Town Cottleville. But St. Louis County definitely has more variety if you're looking for different areas with, kind of a different personality. Like you have all these little pockets in St. Louis County that are so different from each other. You have some historic parts that are closer to the city, and then you have some of these brand new areas out west, and a bunch of areas that are very different from each other.
Right.
Whereas in St. Charles County, comparing Wentzville to O'Fallon to Lake St. Louis tends to be more of a similar kind of neighborhood you're looking at.
So let's talk about the walkability between St. Louis County and St. Charles County. It seems generally, big picture, you have many different unique neighborhoods within St. Louis County to choose from that are walkable. You can walk to school, you can walk to restaurants, maybe even work. There are so many different areas that you can live in.
For example, Clayton, Kirkwood, Maplewood, Richmond Heights, Brentwood, some of those areas have more of a commercial center you might be able to easier walk to, whereas in St. Charles County, it is way more spread out. You do have 2 or 3 of those walkable town centers, but for the most part, you're looking at way more of these big developments like strip malls, highways going through the place. You see more of that in St. Charles County. Now, St. Louis as a whole is not the best for walkability. You're going to have a car to get places. Even in the city itself, it tends to be more spread out. But in St. Charles County, having a car is way more of a necessity.
Absolutely.
Whereas in St. Louis County, you could pick an area like Kirkwood or Clayton where if you live and work there, you might not need a car and you can be fine. And that's harder to get in St. Charles County.
Right, because in St. Charles County, everything's very drivable. You're driving to the grocery store, to your office, to schools, things like that. But again, that goes back to it's all about the lifestyle you want. Yeah. And it helps us understand more about what you're looking for and your needs to really hone down on the different areas in the lifestyle that, to help us help you find that house.
Yeah. And especially with having stuff to do, if nightlife, attractions, stuff like that is a big priority for you, St. Louis County will put you more central to all of those things going on, whether it's in the town you live in or just the fact that you're closer to the city. Whereas in St. Charles County, you're going to have less of that. And you might find that, you're going to be driving into the city or somewhere into the county to meet friends, to go out, have a drink, go out for a night. So that's just another part of being one step further away and having maybe less stuff going on for nightlife and attraction purposes in St. Charles County. You do have restaurants and strip malls and that kind of stuff, but I feel like more of the social things happen in the city and parts of St. Louis County. Right.
I mean, there are definitely things happening in St. Charles County, and I think we're seeing more and more of those, things to do in an evening or on a weekend. But if you were to compare the two, there's definitely more happening in St. Louis County. You will be commuting from St. Charles County if you live out there and want to take advantage of those. I mean, people live in St. Charles County and they're very happy with what's going on. They just don't have as many options as they would in the county.
Now let's talk about the houses, the neighborhoods that you will see, because this is a really big difference you'll find. So like I said, St. Louis County has dozens of different areas that have a different style. So whether you're looking for a historic brick house, more of that charm, that aesthetic, if that's your style, you have a bunch of different choices in St. Louis County. And then you have some neighborhoods that are a little bit older, but not necessarily historic, from the 50s, 60s, 70s. And then you do have a lot of areas in St. Louis County that are brand new. You know, some of that westward expansion happening, like an area like Chesterfield, a lot of new stuff going on.
I mean, we see everything from the bungalows to the mid-century modern houses to maybe more of a colonial style house. And it seems like St. Louis County really captures a lot of the different architectural styles that we see around the country.
St. Louis County also has more choices from urban, suburban, and rural. Like again, you have more choices at every end of the spectrum. The closer you get to the city, the more you're going to have kind of these urban looking towns where houses are closer together. You have more stuff going on, more like walkable neighborhoods, and then you get further out there and it becomes more suburban and then eventually more rural. So again, St. Louis County just has more choices depending on the level of lifestyle you're looking for.
Right. So then when you cross the river into St. Charles County, overall the houses are newer. The development is newer in St. Charles County. So the houses, the term we use, which isn't always the best term, but there's more cookie cutter style houses. Yeah. It's a little boxier, but you are getting way more square footage. You're getting a larger backyard. You're maybe getting more garage space as compared to what you would find in St. Louis County. Now, we have pockets of very unique, nice custom homes in St. Charles County that we also have a wide variety. It's just not as wide of a variety and as many options as compared to St. Louis County. So with St. Charles County and this suburban feel, it does come with more chain restaurants, chain stores. And for some people, I personally love local restaurants or going to local supermarkets, whatever that might be. And there are more of them in St. Louis County.
Yeah, so St. Charles County has a few pockets of that, but overall, you don't have as much of that local small town feel in St. Charles County. You definitely have more of that in St. Louis County and absolutely way more in the city. But if you're considering places you want to live and you want that feeling of being able to walk into a local bakery or coffee shop or go at, you know, a mom and pop restaurant for dinner, you're going to have more choices for that in St. Louis County and definitely a lot more in the city, where St. Charles County tends to be more like commercial, more chains, more of these like big brand stores.
More franchises.
Yeah, and less of this mom and pop feel.
Finding more in St. Louis County doesn't mean there's none of that in St. Charles County. We have some really unique communities throughout St. Charles County. It's just they're fewer and farther between compared to being in St. Louis County.
Cottleville, Main Street St. Charles, and like Main Street Wentzville being some of them. Whereas St. Louis County, it's kind of like every town has its own personality and charm. And it's also like, you know, you go from one town to the next over in St. Louis County, they might be next to each other, but it might be just a complete different feel, style of neighborhoods and style of, you know, different shops and businesses that you will find, where you can kind of hop around from one to the next and explore more, and it'll be very different in St. Louis County.
So another thing to consider is the different price points in each county. So in St. Louis County, we really see a lot of inventory in all the different price points. We have a lot of starter homes all the way up to multi-million-dollar estates. And so if you go to St. Charles County, we still have that range. We just see more of those maybe family homes, the bigger homes that are more mid-range. So let's say 300 to 600-ish thousand. Now we have a lot of starter homes in St. Charles County. We do have executive level homes. We just don't have as many as compared to St. Louis County. But St. Louis County is also more densely populated. So you will have more options in each of those tiers, in each of like the buyer pools of first-time home buyer, the people who are moving up, the people who are downsizing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like we keep saying this, St. Louis County has way more of the full spectrum. Keep in mind too, St. Louis County is like, there's twice as many people living here compared to St. Charles County. The land area itself is way bigger, so you have more to choose from. But kind of like Madison said, like you have options on the cheaper end of price. If you're looking between like $50,000 and $150,000, you have way more options in St. Louis County. And St. Louis County has more options if you're looking from $1 million to $10 million. Now, the interesting thing too is that St. Charles County, as far as a median home value, is higher than St. Louis County and St. Louis City. So where St. Charles County median prices are usually in the low to mid 300s. St. Louis County tends to be in the mid 200s, but that's because St. Louis County has a lot more of both ends, like both extremes of price.
And while we're talking about the different prices of these homes, I do think it's important to note that the tax rate, the real estate tax, is different in each county. So St. Charles County is a little bit lower than the tax rate in St. Louis County, which is just an important factor to point out. If you go to the assessor's website, you can see what those rates are. I know sometimes they change, but when people move to our area, that does tend to come up of, well, what are the taxes? What are our property taxes in one county versus the other?
Yeah, and the frustrating thing too is that there's like 90 municipalities in St. Louis County, and every municipality, every school district and fire district has like a different rate for taxes that'll affect you. But yeah, generally speaking, St. Charles County is on average lower as far as your property taxes go compared to St. Louis County. So what you will probably notice is this trend of taxes going down a little bit the further out west you go. So St. Louis City being more expensive with taxes, St. Louis County a little bit lower, and then St. Charles County on average slightly lower than St. Louis County.
Right.
So the difference between St. Louis County and St. Charles County, there is a lot to cover and a lot of different areas we could talk about, but those are just overall some of the big ones. And if you're moving to here, you might hear people very opinionated about their county or their part of town. St. Charles County, you know, sometimes they like to stay in their territory, and same with St. Louis County and St. Louis City. People are very passionate about that. But overall, these are some of the more objective differences that you will run into, and, you know, some stuff to think about if you're trying to narrow it down. And we do hear people all the time who are considering areas in both. You might look at, you know, an area like St. Charles and O'Fallon, you know, on the other side of the river. And people are also sometimes looking at areas like, you know, Maryland Heights, Creve Coeur, Florissant. Right.
And if you're looking to move here, reach out to us because we can dive into all these different areas with you. We don't have endless time to do that today, but it helps us to learn more about your situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of areas to consider, and we can talk about it all day in a YouTube video, but really the best way is going to be for you to make a trip, drive around, and just see where you feel more comfortable, where you see yourself really living your life, raising your family, whatever it is that you're looking for in St. Louis. And being boots on the ground and you know, experiencing it for yourself is definitely the most helpful way we've found to learn the differences.
And we're always happy to play tour guide. So we love being a tourist in our own city. We do it all the time.
Yeah. Take people for a drive or take them out to lunch in a different part of town. And sometimes that's just a great way to get a feel of what you like and what you don't like here, is just spend a day in each part of town, and you'll be leaning one way or the other pretty soon if you do that enough. So that's going to wrap it for today. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.